Hello, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to Satsang. Satsang is an ancient spiritual practice from India. It means being in reality together. I give Satsang live every Wednesday and Sunday night in Portland, Maine. This Dharma talk was recorded during one of our Wednesday night gatherings. Please visit jayakula.org to learn more about the teachings. You can find video satsangs on Jayakula's YouTube channel, and my books are all available on Amazon.com. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. So, I promised to talk about stupidity, but I think I'd like to start, instead of with the word stupidity, with the word ignorance, because it's much more to the point of what stupidity is. And ignorance has the word ignore in it. That's really the key thing. That when we're being stupid, or it is being stupid, let's just say it is being stupid, we are ignoring something. So stupidity or ignorance has to do with two kinds of ignorings. One is our perceptions, the perceptual apparatus of our body, because we sense things with our body, our senses, with the perceptual capacity of our energy, because we can also sense things with our subtle energy, and the perceptual capacity of our mind, because we also sense things with our mind. And in this tradition, and also Ayurveda and traditions like that are related, the mind is a sense organ. When our perceptions, our sense organs of body, energy, and mind are not functioning well, then it's not just that we're not willfully ignoring anything, we're just not experiencing certain things. If I, for instance, was an ordinary person who lived in a materialistic, rationalistic culture, and I was taught to rely only on my mind and my gross senses to try to figure things out, I may have never been trained to sense things in any more subtle way. Of course, I could have come in already sensing things, but just for the sake of this example, let's say someone didn't come in already sensing things, and they were never trained to do that. They were trained to rely heavily on their rationalistic mind. And so when someone walks into a room, that person may not be able to sense how someone else is feeling, right? Something very simple like that. That requires perceptual openness of varying kinds. It's a complex act when you encounter somebody to get a direct sense or a direct knowing about how they're feeling. It involves a lot of different senses, but if we're being very, very open, it involves sensing them on an energetic level, not just looking at facial cues or something like that. So if we are, for instance, in that circumstance, being in a state of ignore-ance, it's not that we're willfully being stupid, it's just that we're not seeing something. We're not perceiving something. It's just like somebody who doesn't know that they need glasses. Or, for instance, when I was in high school, I used to babysit for a little girl. She was, 2 or 3 years old, and she had a thing where she would just not respond to people or always be asking, what? And her mom thought that she was just being willful. And at one point I said, well, maybe she's got a hearing problem. So they took her to the doctor, and she had massive wax buildup in her ears. And then they took the wax out, and she was like, Mommy, everything's so loud. We have that same experience when we're waking up, there were things that we could not perceive before. Things about ourselves, things about other people, things about circumstances. And then when we start to perceive them, the world gets louder and more bright and more intense in a certain sense. And then we have to recalibrate and get used to that new circumstance with the gates of our body, energy, and mind being more open. So that's one kind of ignorance or stupidity, which is there's gunk in our perceptual apparatus, and we're just simply not perceiving certain things. That gunk can also be conceptual gunk. We are highly trained to think and feel and respond in certain rote concept ways based on our concepts of things. How people should be, how they shouldn't be, what should happen, what shouldn't happen, how life's supposed to go, how it's not supposed to go. For instance, we have formulas that we are working with, conceptual formulas. If I work really hard, I will succeed. That's an American formula right there, American math. But sometimes other stuff gets in the way and you work really hard and you don't succeed. I mean, that happens. There is actually no cosmic law that says if you work hard, you have to succeed. That's just a concept that we hold very strongly in this country. So then what happens is if we work very hard, but our efforts go to hell in a handbasket, then we feel like we've been wronged. So then we have a habitual response that we've been wronged, that something's terribly wrong with life or with some other person or somebody done me wrong, something like that. So this kind of gets me to the next form of ignorance, which is that we are ignoring the real circumstance. We aren't looking at life through fresh and new vision. We have all of these concepts about how things should be, how they're supposed to work out, how other people are supposed to behave, how our life is supposed to go, what's supposed to happen, what's not supposed to happen, etc. What's good, what's not good, what's evil, what's holy. I mean, we just have, infinite ideas about stuff. These concepts inform how we relate to things. So let's say I meet a new person and I might be interested, I think I might be interested in this person, as dating material, let's say. And let's say I have a lot of concepts about what kind of person is right for me. Or I have a lot of concepts about how much money someone has to make that I would date, or anything about them. So I go to meet this person, and I have a checklist. And my checklist is actually like blinders. All I'm looking for is the things on my checklist. I may not actually be seeing how that person actually is. I may not be noticing anything outside of my checklist. When we have habitual ways of relating, habitual responses to things, like we are habitually angry, or we habitually feel abandoned, or we habitually feel competitive toward people, whatever it happens to be, there's lots of habitual kinds of flavors of relating. Whenever we are stuck in one of those habitual modes, we are in a state of ignorance because we can't see around it, right? And we are relating to everything in a stale way. And by stale, I mean that we aren't seeing the situation for how it actually is and able to adapt and respond on the spot in a fresh way to what's really happening. We're responding to our scenario. We're responding to our concept. We're responding to our expectations. We're responding to our emotional habit patterns. So it's like life is happening, and then there's all this stuff that we're bringing to it, and we're relating to the stuff and not to life. So that is another kind of ignorance, where we are ignoring, because of our karmas, I would say, we are ignoring how things actually are. We're ignoring what's actually being communicated. We're ignoring the richness of the relationship that's available to us with life in favor of this very rote thing. Now, I was just talking to Kata before we started, and I was telling her a little bit how dreams have been very important in my life. I've been having interesting dreams since I was very little, and because I've had them my whole life, they are a very important part of how I relate to life. I've gotten a lot of guidance through dreams and teachings and initiations and hints about things. And there was a period in my life when I was doing this particular practice to help to clear karmically patterned vision, karmically patterned ways of feeling and being. And during that period of intense practice, beings started to appear in my dreams and also in visions during when I was doing the practice, asking me for help to relieve them of their karmic patterns. And I learned something very important during that period, which was that these karmic patterns are like pieces of personalities. So, for instance, one time this ghost came and was very, very upset and kept repeating over and over and over again, I shouldn't have done that, I shouldn't have done that, or whatever it was before it became this ghost. I didn't do what I should have done, I didn't do what I should have done. And it just kept repeating this, like in this plaintive, despairing voice, just trapped in this one thought, in this one emotional flavor. And I had absolutely no idea what to do. I mean, my teacher who taught me this practice I was doing never told me this might happen. Never taught me what to do. So I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And I just looked at this apparition and I said, you did your best. And then it just kind of went, ah. And it just dissolved and the whole thing got resolved. It was this like really like feeling of relief and relaxation. And it just taught me something very, very important. First of all, it taught me that kindness is actually a very powerful medicine. But it also taught me that all of our fixations, not just apparitions that show up, all of our fixations are like that, right? They just desperately keep repeating the same demand or the same complaint or the same whatever it is, the same pattern. So that's why I said refer to those patterns as it, not really as us. Because all of those patterns are kind of like little possessions, right? They're little strands of personalities that speak very loudly in us, and we think that's who we are, but they're actually just strands of fixation, strands of patterning that needs to be resolved through our sadhana, the kindness of being able to do sadhana. So those patterns, as you can see, are very ignorant in the sense of they're so monodimensional. Right? They're just trapped in these, just doing the same thing, like somebody with autism, right? They're just doing this all day long, right? They're trapped. And they have very limited scope, very limited perception, very limited capacity. And if we could kind of think of our karmas as a jumble of those, right, that we're just trying to be kind to by doing sadhana and have them go, and just resolve like that. Jayakula is a nonprofit community offering opportunities to learn and practice in the direct realization traditions of Trika Shaivism and Dzogchen. We are based in Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon. Visit jayakula.org to explore more of our offerings.